My name is Harvey Gurland, and I'm a partner with the law firm of Duane Morris, and I'm the managing partner of our Florida offices, which means Miami and Boca Raton. True story. When I was a little kid in elementary school, you know, they always ask you that question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wrote on this little composition that when I grew up, I wanted to be a lawyer. I'm not exactly sure why, but that's what I wrote. I must have been in second or third grade, and that never changed. I have a very broad litigation practice. I handle matters ranging from healthcare litigation. I've done matters involving the oil industry, matters for lenders enforcing obligations. I've done shareholder derivative suits. I've done stockholder class action matters. Sometimes I'm representing plaintiffs. Sometimes I represent defendants. And my practice is such that I, in a given day, can be working on matters that have no relationship to each other substantively. And that's what keeps me going, as opposed to, you know, some lawyers that they have a practice where they're handling similar matters on a regular basis, and I've never done that. To give a little history, back in the late 1980s or mid-1980s, I began doing some work for one of the major oil companies, and I enjoyed the work. I learned a lot, and over time I began to really have an understanding about how the marketing side of the petroleum industry or the oil industry works. So I remember one time I was up at Port Everglades at the terminal there, and I went to another terminal on the more north on the east coast of Florida. I've been to terminals on the west coast of Florida. So I began to really have an understanding and became, I hate to say the term specialist, but I will say I had some level of expertise in the area, which I still do, and I've represented many different oil companies over the years, and I've represented some smaller companies and individuals as well. Well, when you start talking about the petroleum industry, the first thing you look at is oil prices, because that's such a driver. We've seen that recent years the price of oil has gone down dramatically, which has obviously had a tremendous impact on consumers as well as the distribution side. Whether that stays in place, probably in the short term, yes, but over the longer term, will oil prices rise? The answer is probably yes. Will we get to $100 a barrel? More likely than not, at some point in the future. When that will be, I guess we will all find out. But I do remember one thing I learned from someone who was a client in the oil industry, and he said to me, whatever the industry is today, it will be different tomorrow. And I think that's a very good philosophy, not just about the oil industry, but about the legal profession or the journalist profession and other things that we do. Things change, and we need to be ready to adapt to changes. I think that the environment, particularly in Florida, where we have a lot of sensitivity to it, is very important. I mean, it's important to me personally. It's important to future generations. And I think we need to continue steps to protect the Everglades, to protect the water, the air, and obviously politicians and the political side gets involved in that, and so we'll just have to see how that plays out. But I think everyone, no matter what side they're on concerning the issue, would agree that the environment is very important for us in our future. The South Florida economy has obviously done well over the last several years. Right now, I think we're in a bit of a pattern of let's see what's going to happen. The real estate market has been incredibly hot. over the last several years, and I think everyone is sensing a little bit of a slowdown now. There are some projects that were on or in the planning stages that are now on hold, and we'll just have to see, is that a long-term hold or a short-term hold? Still, when you start with South Florida, I still think you talk about construction, whether that be commercial or residential. Obviously, tourism is a very important part of our economy, which includes the hotels, the cruise industry, the airlines industry. So those are significant parts of what we do here. International trade, banking, those are growing areas. We've had some issues because of the economy in some of the Latin American countries has slowed down, and that's been that has had an impact on our South Florida economy, not in a positive way, and we'll just have to see if the Latin American economies rebound. That will certainly be a good thing for South Florida. Our philosophy of our firm is collaboration, meaning we work closely with lawyers in other offices, not just here in the U.S., but outside of the U.S. So for us, it's routine to pick up the phone or send an email to someone in another office, whether it be London, Singapore, or one of the U.S. offices, seeking help or having a client that may have a matter that is either using Singapore as an example, in Singapore, or has a relationship to Singapore, and we would work together on that, and we do that all the time. Well, one of the things that I've focused on is bringing in people who fit with our culture and who will enhance what we're trying to do. So for example, several years ago, we had the opportunity to talk to Alvin Lodish and Scott Kravitz, two of the recognized construction lawyers down here. And I knew Alvin from a matter where we were on the opposite sides, and we got along then. Obviously, we get along very well now. And I viewed that between having a construction practice here in South Florida being very important and knowing that they would both be able to help grow the office, and they fit within our culture of being able to work with others and looking forward to helping others that would need assistance down here and reaching out and expanding their business by having lawyers in other offices work on their matters, that it would be a great fit. And I also knew that they would be really important in expanding our offices here in South Florida in terms of our recruiting efforts. And they've been a great addition to our offices.